Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Nick, and today we're going to talk about the best movies of 2019. "2019 and the decade is now behind us, so I wanted to just take a moment to discuss my favorite movies of the year. Because we all love lists, and what year would be complete without a best of year list, right? And I gotta say, this year was a really damn good year for movies. Like every other year, we did get a nice surge at the end with Oscar contenders and indie hits and other last minute surprises, but this year was just a lot. So much that I decided to not do a traditional top 10 list, but instead give a shout out to 20 movies that really impressed me this year. Otherwise, I'd leave off so many great movies and that just wouldn't be fair to them. I'm going to keep this quick. These won't be in-depth reviews. I'm just going to say a few words and I'm going to move on. We have a lot to cover here. First up are the honorable mentions. Alphabetically they are Dolomite Is My Name, Happy Death Day to You, Jojo Rabbit, The Lighthouse, and Little Monsters. All great movies, definitely check them out if you haven't yet. Not to take away from how good they are, I wish I could have included them here. It's just there were 20 other movies that I enjoyed more. So here we go, my top 20 movies of 2019. Number 20 is The Art of Self-Defense. Jesse Eisenberg plays a mild-mannered accountant who takes up karate lessons after being mugged and goes under the wing of a twisted sensei with a suspicious agenda. This was a really weird, quirky comedy back from the summertime that came and went with little fanfare. Its sense of humor was really dry and it ventured into some truly dark territory at times. Jesse Eisenberg essentially plays another version of the timid characters he's used to playing throughout his career, but now he actually gets to fight back against his tormentors. It was a great satire on toxic masculinity and one of the year's most underrated movies. Number 19 is Marriage Story. Noah Baumbach is the master of gut-wrenching family drama, as evidenced with films such as the Meyerowitz Stories and The Squid and the Whale, and this time he puts out what just might be his best work. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson give two highly charged performances as a couple going through an ugly divorce, but what's nice about this is it never vilifies either side and makes you sympathize with both parties equally. It's often funny, but even more heartbreaking to watch. Number 18 is The Irishman. Martin Scorsese is back to doing what he knows best with another mob-centric tale focusing on hitman Frank Sheeran and his relationship with Jimmy Hoffa. This was a very long movie, clocking in at 3.5 hours, though it earns nearly every minute of its runtime. It'll be compared to films like Goodfellas and Casino, but is much more quiet and meditative compared to those two films. Robert De Niro is excellent as always, while Al Pacino gets to rant and rave like he always does, and it's absolutely wonderful to watch. Though special praise goes to Joe Pesci, who plays a much more subdued role than he normally does and still manages to be absolutely terrifying. If this is truly his last role, it's a great way to go out. Number 17 is Waves. A family is torn apart by tragedy as a high school athlete finds himself struggling to balance his school life and personal life, only for things to go down a truly ugly road. This was a powerful film and was the closest in a long time I came to actually shedding a tear during a movie. The performances are some of the best I've seen this year, in particular Sterling K. Brown as the father of this family. He's strict, but he's honestly trying to just do what's right for his wife and kids, and often has compelling reasons for why he is the way he is. The character development here is top-notch due to some truly stellar writing. This one's a roller coaster of emotions and one you certainly don't want to miss. Number 16 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino's love letter to 1960s Hollywood finds Leonardo DiCaprio as a struggling actor trying to keep his career afloat in what winds up being one of the director's funniest movies to date. This is a much more laid-back, mature Tarantino than the director who gave us films like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and he often wants us to just relax and have a good time with these characters. Though there's no shortage of the director's signature dark humor here, as he puts his own spin on real-life people and events that's sure to divide audiences. While DiCaprio is great, it's Brad Pitt who steals the show as Cliff Booth, Leo's stuntman who goes on several misadventures of his own throughout the film. This is different Tarantino for sure, but it's still a great time. Number 15 is Tigers Are Not Afraid. This is one part Pan's Labyrinth, the other part City of God. A young girl with magic chalk that grants her wishes is on the run with a group of homeless children after they steal a phone with incriminating evidence against a local crime lord. Despite its fantasy premise, it takes a much more nuanced approach to its subject matter and presents a grounded, often heartbreaking look at the life of these struggling children. You can find this on the streaming service Shudder, and if you have it, I highly recommend checking it out. Number 14 is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Tom Hanks, the nicest guy in Hollywood, plays Mr. Rogers, the man who spent his whole life preaching kindness to others. If that alone doesn't get you to watch this movie, I don't know what will. This is a sweet, very funny, often touching film that spews positivity in nearly every scene, and will leave you with a big old smile on your face. Tom Hanks' performance as Mr. Rogers is what drives this film, and is some of the most spot-on casting I've seen in quite some time. If you ever need a movie to just put you in a good mood, this is the one to watch. Number 13 is Manos. A group of young Colombian soldiers with a strong bond soon find themselves divided when they're given an American prisoner to watch over. One part Apocalypse Now, the other Lord of the Flies. This one's brutal to watch as it shows these young soldiers all lose whatever innocence they may have had left as they're forced to commit horrible acts in the face of war. The film is one part escape thriller and one part character drama, often blending the two into some truly unnerving moments that will leave you feeling quite uncomfortable. More than likely you missed this one when it was in theaters, but check it out if you can. Number 12 is First Love. A young boxer who discovers he has a terminal illness rescues a woman from ruthless crime lords and finds himself caught up in a much larger plot including rival gangs, corrupt cops, and other unsavory characters. This crime comedy comes from director Takashi Miike and feels like his take on a Coen Brothers movie, evoking the feel of films such as The Big Lebowski or Burn After Reading. Much of the plot is driven by the bumbling errors of a few characters and snowballs into a much bigger mess, with a barrage of new players unwittingly finding themselves involved in a war they're not even sure they fully understand. This is another movie that likely flew under the radar, but it's another of the year's most underrated movies, and you'll definitely get a good laugh from it. Number 11 is It Chapter 2. The much-anticipated sequel to 2017's It didn't resonate with audiences as much as its predecessor due to its excessive length, but it is a fitting conclusion to the story and one of the year's finest horror movies. Taking place 28 years after the first film, this focuses on the Losers Club as adults as they find themselves once again tormented by Pennywise the Clown. Bill Skarsgård is once again terrifying as Pennywise, while the casting of the adult losers is so spot on that it truly feels like the same characters we last saw as children. The first movie's still superior, but this is also excellent. Number 10 is Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler is a jeweler who places bets all over New York City, and it causes him to risk his family, his business, and even his life. This is one of the most anxiety-inducing experiences of the year. The Safdie brothers employ frantic editing and a brash sound mix with characters constantly screaming over one another to send tension soaring through the roof. And Adam Sandler gives one of the finest performances of his career, if not his absolute best. Sandler has always proven himself to be a formidable dramatic actor, and he truly knocks it out of the park here. Hopefully he takes on more roles like this moving forward. Number 9 is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. A woman who has been hired to paint the portrait of another young woman about to be married must do so in secret due to the bride-to-be's lack of desire to actually wed, leading to a relationship built on deception. This is a movie that runs the risk of being labeled boring by most audiences as it does take its time getting to know these characters, but it's a phenomenally acted movie with beautifully written characters and is also gorgeously filmed. For a movie about a painter, every shot feels like it could be a painting in and of itself. This only played for a week in December to qualify for award season, but it'll be back in theaters February. Don't miss it when it does come back. Number 8 is Avengers Endgame. The culmination of 22 movies worth of storylines gives us pretty much everything we've ever wanted in a superhero blockbuster. It's 3 hours long, but it moves at a lightning fast pace, ending with an explosive last hour that alone makes this movie worth watching. It's often funny and still manages to have plenty of great emotional moments as some character storylines wrap up, while others get further developed for the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While Marvel shows no signs of slowing down, this is a perfect ending to their first major chapter. Number 7 is El Camino. Breaking Bad is now known as a modern classic in television drama, with a finale considered one of the greatest of all time. So at a glance, this film doesn't appear to be needed. However, this serves as a nice epilogue to the series, giving some closure to Jesse Pinkman's story. Aaron Paul leads this film with some of his finest work to date, and what's nice for Breaking Bad fans is it feels like an extended episode of the show, which is fitting considering how cinematic each episode of Breaking Bad felt. It translates perfectly into movie form. Number 6 is Booksmart. Two high school best friends who never partied a day in their life try making up for it on the final day of school as they bounce around all over town trying to go to as many year-end parties as possible. While on the surface this may seem like it's just Superbad with women, this is a much more emotionally mature experience than that film, as much as I still enjoy Superbad. Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein are both excellent in the two lead roles, and every character is fleshed out to feel like real three-dimensional people we could all relate to in some way. It's not without some raunchy humor, but has a whole lot of heart to go with it. Number 5 is Toy Story 4. Just when you thought the Toy Story series couldn't go any further after the ending of the third film, guess again. What seemed like an obvious cash grab turns out to be another hilarious, emotional entry in the series that once again can easily serve as the perfect finale to the franchise. The film is beautifully animated and even incorporates elements of other genres, such as horror and old adventure movies. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen are once again both great, as is Annie Potts, who returns after being absent from the last film. And new players including Tony Hale, Keanu Reeves, and Key and Peele all take characters who could have easily been annoying and turn them into instant fan favorites. This is without a doubt another winner for Pixar. Number 4 is Fighting with My Family. Based on the true story of wrestler Paige, this showcases her journey going from a struggling middle-class family in England to one of the biggest names in modern wrestling. Produced by The Rock and also containing a major supporting role from Vince Vaughn, on the surface this seems like it would just be another silly sports comedy. However, thanks to the writing and direction of Stephen Merchant, this is not only just a very funny movie, but tenderly written to show the harsh struggles of working-class life with some of the most well-written characters in a movie this year. This was one of 3 movies this year starring Florence Pugh, and it easily stands out as the best of the 3. Number 3 is Knives Out. A wealthy author dies and foul play is suspected, with a private investigator played by Daniel Craig questioning the motives of the entire family. It's rare to not only see a murder mystery these days, but an original one at that. Rian Johnson proves yet again he's the master of layered, meticulous storytelling, and gives us a consistently engaging, highly tense experience from start to finish. And despite the subject matter, it manages to get plenty of laughs, with a great sense of self-awareness that includes a purposefully over-the-top performance from Daniel Craig. This was one of my most anticipated movies going into 2019, and it still managed to exceed my expectations. Number 2 is Dr. Sleep. This sequel to The Shining stars Ewan McGregor as an adult Dan Torrance, still with his powers of The Shining, who has to protect a young girl with the same powers from a cult of psychic vampires. Director Mike Flanagan was tasked with successfully adapting Stephen King's novel while still incorporating all the changes Stanley Kubrick made to The Shining, and he crushes it here. He often pays tribute to Kubrick's film while still giving this its own identity. In addition to being a very compelling character drama, this kicks the intensity up to 11 and never lets down, giving us the year's most frightening horror movie and a worthy sequel to a classic film. And now, it's that time, my number 1 pick, the one that topped them all, the crowning achievement of 2019 is Parasite. Everyone who's seen Parasite has raved about it, and it's honestly the rare film that's truly deserving of every bit of hype it gets. Bong Joon-ho seamlessly blends multiple genres, from comedy to horror to blockbuster-style thriller, to give us the most gripping story all year. The film is an exceptionally written social satire, with its attention specifically focusing on class consciousness and the relationship between the rich and the poor. And it's a film that's chock full of surprises, leading the viewer down one path only to do an about-face not once, but several times, though never feeling like a plot twist done just for shock value. It's a film that is best experienced by knowing nothing going into it, and you will be all the happier for it once you've finished. Every movie on this list is certainly worth your time, but this is the one movie I cannot recommend enough. So those are my top picks of 2019, and what a year it's been. This was honestly one of the best years for movies in quite some time, and a great way to close out the decade. I'm sure I left off plenty of your favorite movies though, so let me know. What were your favorite movies of 2019? Did you agree with this list at all? Did you not agree with this list at all? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like what you see, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.